I'm asking that much. Just now go, wind up monkey.
This is a test of the Carnival Personnel Emergency Podcast System. The podcasters in your area, in voluntary cooperation with state, local, and federal authorities, have developed the system to keep you informed in the event of an emergency. If this had been an actual podcast, the rambling you just heard would have been followed by official boos and hisses. This concludes our test of the Carnival Personnel Emergency Podcast System. This is only a test.
No, hold on.
Boo!
That is his retirement plan, you guys. Like, when you go to a casino enough and you gamble enough, they give you a player's card. Right? Yes, you were saying yes. Okay. So, the more you lose, the more points you get on that player's club card. And you can use that card for things like hotel rooms and food. And he's like, honey, that is what we're going to do. Okay, I am just going to lose so much money that when I turn 65, we're going to move into Morongo. That's what's going to happen. And the sad thing about that joke is that his casino points are doing better than my 401k right now.
Hello, and welcome to Carnival Personnel Sideshow. It is just Jacques, because Joe has better things to do than put up with my shenanigans, as does Biff. But on the Sideshow today, ran into this comic, not this past, but the previous South Shore Comedy Festival at Steve Sweeney's Comedy Den in Quincy. It's very funny. She was living in the area, now lives in the beautiful Palm Springs area, which it is. It's cliche to say, but it's so sunny and it's so great. I've only been there a couple times, but it was fantastic. But having her on Sideshow today because... First, comedian. Secondly, she has the inaugural for dummies. That means the first one. The Dying for Laughs comedy competition coming up later this year. So we're going to talk about her comedy and her competition, and for some reason why she majored in Latin. So a big Carnival Personnel welcome for Allison Dyen.
Thanks so much for having me.
So we'll get right into it. Latin as a major?
Yeah, it's pure laziness on my part. When I got to Mount Holyoke, it's a liberal arts college, and they require that you take a language. And if you took Latin, because it's a dead language, no one really speaks it outside of the Catholic Church now, you only had to meet 4 days a week instead of 5. All the modern languages, you had to meet 5 days a week because the 5th day was like a spoken language lab. And I thought, I want to take the language where I only have to go to class 4 times a week. So I started taking Latin, and I just really fell in love with it. I like doing the translating, and just wound up majoring in that.
That's fascinating. And have you spun off to, because that's the root of all the Romance languages, did you go and pick up French or Italian or anything else along the way?
No, I took French, I took Spanish in middle school and high school. But no, I haven't really, honestly, again, laziness. I haven't put in the effort to learn any other languages. But I would like to down the line, especially French. But we'll see.
So let's start at the beginning. When, and more importantly, why did you start doing stand-up?
So I've always loved stand-up. I think like a lot of comedians, I vividly remember seeing my very first comedy special, which was Chris Rock's Bring the Pain, which was probably when I was 10 or 11 years old when that special came out. And I just remember he was just so cool and so relatable. And it just, in my head, I was like, oh, I could make a living doing this. I could make a living talking about myself and my opinions and make people laugh. This is great. But back then, when I was a kid, I'm 43 now, there was no like internet really where you can Google, stand-up comedy classes for kids and things like that. And my parents were not showbiz people. They weren't interested in putting effort into me taking acting classes or learning stand-up or anything like that. So it kind of went on the back burner my whole life until I worked in insurance for 17 years, moved out to LA, started going to comedy clubs. And I was thinking, you know what? If I'm going to try this, now's the time. And I took a comedy class with Greg Dean in Santa Monica. And I took that clip from our showcase show, our graduation show, and I submitted it to a festival and I got in. And after that, I just started taking it really seriously.
That's fantastic. So in LA, where were some of the favorite places that you got to perform?
So we did that graduation show at the Improv Lab. I really like that space. It's a small, intimate space that I really like. Most of the time when I first lived in LA, it was more open mics. So for me, because I was just starting out. So Flappers was probably my favorite place to go do mics. They had mics almost every night
Nice.
of the week, and Tao Comedy Studio
Yeah,
was my other
that
favorite
is
one.
the people who run Tao are just the best people on the planet
Yeah.
and in comedy, and that space down in Koreatown is fantastic, but they are absolutely wonderful people. So that's very cool.
Oh, I love it. I did the Laugh Riot Girl Comedy Festival twice, which is held there.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, and then you moved to New England after that. What
Yeah,
brought
so
you
I
back to Boston?
so I came back to Boston mostly 'cause my husband and I both had parents that were getting older, and we wanted to move back to be there for them. And then when all of our parents passed away, we moved back to the West Coast, which was 2 years ago. My mom was the last one to pass away. So we always had plans to come back to the West Coast. We lived 2016 to 2018. We lived in Hollywood, and then we moved back to the West Coast 2 years ago. So basically, just you know, life. You want to be there for your family. So that's why we went back to New England.
Well, that's what brought us back here. And when you were here, where were some of your favorite places in New England to perform?
So my start in the New England comedy scene was mostly with John Parada, who runs Rhode Island Comedy Factory. So he does a lot of dinner shows all over Rhode Island. So I would do those. He probably has like 10 or so venues. Lemongrass is one of them. He used to book shows at the Comedy Park in Rhode Island, which was one of my favorite places. Um, see, Kendra Landsberg, I think she still runs a really fun show at Lucky's in the Seaport District in Boston. That's a really good space. Steve Sweeney's Comedy Den. Trying to think of where else. I ran a room at Harry's La Casamia. So hopefully they bring back comedy there because I always thought that was a really fun space for comedy. So those are probably my favorites. I like the dinner shows.
Yeah,
I really like there's something about the old school buffet and then a comedy show after. That's my favorite vibe.
those can be fun. I mean, those are better than like plated places where people are like ordering food. It's like the buffets, like the China Blossom and all those other places. Yeah, where they eat
Yeah.
and then you move on from there. Okay, so now that you're back and you're established in Palm Springs, how did the whole festival or how did the comedy competition come about? You just woke up one
So
day and said, "Hey, I should do a 2-day comedy competition where I don't have to drive more than 3 miles."
I just had a dream one night. No, what happened was I've been doing comedy festivals for the past 10 years. I think I've probably done about 20 of them if I counted, but I'm pretty sure it's around that number. And I always really enjoyed them. And I always just when I would go to them, I thought that well, let me start with this. My original goal was to run a comedy club. That is where I thought I would end up eventually just owning my own club. So I really enjoy the booking process. I really enjoy finding new talent to book. And so festivals are a great place to do that. And when I was booking shows in New England, I would make connections when I went to these festivals. And then when they came into town, I would try to get them on my shows. So that being said, I don't own a comedy club right now. So my thought was, why don't I start out doing a contest, try to turn it into a festival, and then maybe eventually down the road, own my own comedy club, have my own space, and then I would wind up still doing the festival. I would just wind up doing it in my own space. So I guess it's kind of uh sort of like this I don't want to say a phase in between because I want to keep it going hopefully forever, but I just thought it was kind of a good place to start in terms of looking for talent nationally and building up a network of comedians. And also, I love comics and I want to give them opportunities. And our judges for this contest are people who are involved with Just for Laughs, Netflix is a Joke, Live Nation Comedy, America's Got Talent. And I love providing those opportunities to comedians to network and get in front of industry. So the contest really just combines a lot of things that I really like about comedy. So I think it's just one of those things that's been a dream for a while and it's finally coming to fruition.
So how many comics are you going to have, and how will it work? How will round one? Is there 3 rounds in two
So
days?
So so it's over 2 days. There's going to be 20 comics total. There are two preliminary rounds, but round one is 10 comics. The judges will narrow that down to the top three. Second preliminary round is 10 different comics. Judges will narrow that down to the top three. Those six will go on to the finals the next day. And our top three winners are winning money. First place, $3,000. Second place, $1,250. And third place, $750. So it's a pretty good prizes, I think.
No, it's better than a lot out there. So no, that is fantastic. Well, and also if there's actually like industry there, that's the bigger thing for comics to get seen in front of bookers and stuff like that.
Exactly, and that's what I wanted it to be. I mean, I think comedy competitions I think are always fun for networking. I never really concern myself too much with, winning or losing. It's really more about, the show and the vibe and meeting comics and things like that. But it's always a plus, I think, when the festivals and contests have industry there versus a contest where it's an audience vote, and there's sort of a bringer element to it. Because I'm looking for comics nationally, I didn't want any kind of bringer element because obviously the comics who are local would have an advantage over comics coming from far away for that. So I knew when I did this contest, I didn't want it to be an audience vote or a bringer show in any way. I wanted all industry judges.
I mean that I don't like competitions because I'm not a competitive person, and I used to be. I used to be like insanely competitive, and then I had kids, and I'm like, oh, there's more important things in the world than
Yeah,
anything else.
a
You know,
100%.
it literally my horrible children have robbed me of my insane competitiveness,
Good.
but for all the other reasons, the networking stuff, they're good and they're important to do. But so many competitions, like you said, are either, you know, you brought, the comedy den's a small room. 60 is capacity.
Yes.
And so, if one person gets 6 or 7 buddies there, that's, and they're
It's a big
cheering at,
percentage.
right. But, and they're cheering
Yeah.
really loud for, you know, a horrible joke. But, and then also there's been so many competitions where just trying to be really nice, but, there's not real judges. And they don't even know who the judges are in advance. It's like, oh, whatever headline comic friend of mine isn't working that night who wants to come by and judge, or whoever this. And then it's
Yeah.
also really subjective, which it is anyways,
Correct.
to that person's kind of, whatever. Somebody likes only clean comics and or the other way around, or, the biases. So it's nice to have people who know. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and every I think there's pluses and minuses to every type of contest, to every type of festival. Obviously, being able to draw people to a show is an important aspect of the industry. So I do understand that having a draw is definitely part of this business and part of the job. My contest specifically, I really and I truly 100% mean this from like the bottom of my heart. I want this contest to mean something. I want it to be good street cred for whoever wins it, and I want it down the road to be as good of a credit for the comedians that are in it as the Boston Comedy Festival or the SLO or the Big Sky or Big Pine. I really want this to eventually be a festival where comics are proud to say, I got into this, I did this, or I won this. I really want that for them. So for me, having the industry judges were really important. And I think that is what is drawing a lot of my submission traffic is comedians seeing who those judges are and going, oh, I want to get in front of these people. Like I want the opinions of these people. That's important. And so that's kind of what's driving it. It's a contest, a comedian's contest for comedians. You know what I mean? I'm
I
a
do.
comics comic.
Well, it's funny because the Boston Comedy Festival just had its 25th year this past year,
Yeah.
and but there is this headliner who's been a headliner in New England for 20 some years who, when you introduce him, still wants you to introduce him as he's done XYZ, won the first annual Boston Comedy Festival. Like 25 years later, he's still so proud of that that when you bring him up for a show, that is a good credit. So that's a pretty lofty but awesome goal. And,
Yeah.
right out of the box to have industry there is fantastic. So walk me through the comedy scene in Palm Springs.
So the comedy scene here is so much fun. It's definitely a newer scene. It's emerging. So Julie Seebach, who's actually one of the judges in my comedy competition, who is a comedy documentarian. She has a documentary out right now on Mitch Hedberg. She had one on Mark Maron that recently came out. She actually did an article for the LA Times about the comedy scene in the Coachella Valley. It's an emerging scene. So it's small. And what's great about it is that it's kind of like anything goes here. There's no like pre-established way of doing things. There's no hierarchy here. Everybody is very nice and supportive and friendly. We're all just trying to lift up the Palm Springs comedy scene. So I'd say it's small, it's supportive, it's emerging. It's full of very talented comedians. It's full of producers who are taking it very seriously and want to produce good comedy shows. So it's a great group to be a part of.
That is fantastic. And how many nights a week is comedy going on in the Palm Spring area?
Pretty much every night, actually. The Rock Gallery, which is our only full-time comedy room, they are having comedy shows every day of the week but Sunday, so 6 days a week. There's also comedy at the casinos in the Coachella Valley, so you can see they do they book local comics, but also a lot of nationally touring comedians. So you get like I've seen Jerry Seinfeld, Lewis Black, Harlan Williams. So we get, that level of talent coming from the casinos. And then there's also there's an open mic scene here. There's a Coachella Valley Comedy Festival that happens every year here. So week you could find something going on with comedy.
See, I didn't know if there was a big comedy scene. The same reason there's not a lot of good drivers in Palm Springs because everybody's in their teens, 113, 114, 115. It's a very old vaudevillian joke. But yeah, okay. So how many nights a week or how often are you getting out at a mic?
Honestly, well, for mics,
Or just performing? How often do you
okay.
get to perform it?
I'd say probably about 3 times a week
That's
between mics and
fantastic.
shows. Yeah, and that's not all just in Palm Springs. So LA is not far. So that's also, I have a show coming up in Idlewild, which is in the mountains here. I think it's about an hour away. I can't remember the exact length of the drive. And then I have one in Long Beach coming up. And then the Rock Gallery, which is the comedy club here, they have mics 3 nights a week now. So they have a Monday night mic, a Wednesday night mic, and then a Thursday mic, and then a show after. So um, I probably could do like six nights a week if I really wanted to do all the mics. But yeah,
And if you wanted to drive a lot,
and if I
because
wanted to drive a lot, yeah. But I try to do at least 3 times a week.
that's what it is. And you can't really complain, well, I have to drive so much because, yes, very few people are willing to come to my living room and hear my stories about how awful my children are. So I have to drive to where they are.
Where I mean, the great thing about like if you lived in a city like LA or New York or Boston is that you could hit multiple mics in a night or do multiple shows in a night. But for those of us who are out in the suburbs, um, there's more driving.
Well, the funny
Trying to
thing
make-
is, in Boston, there's not a lot anymore. Like there's still Nick's Comedy Stop, but Boston gets so many national people. Like so there's no smaller comedy clubs in Boston anymore because I mean, well, you got Laugh Boston, which I wouldn't say Laugh Boston is small. I think that's like 300.
No, but they're all those are all John Tobin rooms, right?
Yep.
So you've got
Well,
yeah, so
Nick's isn't anymore. Like John
oh,
Tobin gave up
okay.
Nick's a little over a year ago.
Okay. Got
Um,
it.
my buddy Matt Mishi runs Nick's, and it's fun. I mean, it's great. I mean, Nick's is so iconic and stuff like that. But so Nick's will have like the local headliners and stuff. But
Yeah.
generally, Laugh is the step before you do the Wilbur Theater. You do the Laugh
Yeah,
Boston's
it's more
and
for
stuff
like
like that.
and yeah, that level of comedians. There's Off Cabot has a good open mic. I don't know. I think they have local showcases too, in Beverly, Mass.
Yeah, no, that's
That
a really, really, really fun place too. It's smaller. I think maybe that's like a 75,
that
eight,
sounds right. 75 to 100 maybe.
80 per room, and it's in Beverly. Yeah, and who was it? Was it Tony V? Anyways, I did a show there. Yeah, a little while. No, that was Mike Katrowis, and that's a fun room, but that's not like Boston proper. But either way,
Right. Yeah, it's North Shore. Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
you know,
You're right.
but tonight's. Well, the cool thing is there's so much amazing talent around here that
Hmm.
within an hour, any Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, there's amazing shows all over New England, not in the clubs. And a lot of the staple clubs like the China Blossom, like that's just closed, but only because it had some water damage. They shut down for renovations, and then when they started, like the foundation was cracked, and the owner's like, "Yeah, it's not worth it."
Yeah.
But all these, but there's so many great pop-up. I don't even know if you call pop-up shows, but either at their fundraiser or regular things at different really fun venues. But so I live on the New Hampshire border, and right over the border in Hudson tonight, I'm doing a show, and it's a sold-out room. But then I go right from there, 30 minutes away, to Lowell, where I'm hosting a show for, it's a 501c3 group called Hidden Battles. It's a PTS support group, and it's a comedy class, and this is their graduation showcase.
Oh, that's wonderful.
But there's a national headliner, Mike Katrobis, who is headlining that show as well.
I booked with Mike. I booked Mike. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mike runs the Hidden Battles thing. He's this is our third graduation class in about 18 months. Every 6 months we do. And the other room, that's Mike's as well. So Mike has booked him up there. So there's all those shows like everywhere. Christine Hurley somewhere, Will Noonan somewhere. Tony V. And Mike of
Giggles.
course.
Yeah, Giggles would be Saugus, right?
It is, and that rumor that could be going away too.
Oh wow!
But only because, well, the Kowloon sold to real estate developers because the guy who's owned that for 2 generations, the kids didn't want to take it over.
Yeah,
Giggles, the rumor with Giggles is the guy who owns the famous pizza place that Giggles is attached to is going through a divorce, and he has to sell the property for the divorce. Same thing. It's like that, and the China Blossoms, which have been a staple for comedy for over 40 years, in the North Shore as well. So all these staple rooms have gone, but there is so much great comedy if you're willing to drive.
You're right. And my whole thing is, and this is as a person whose ultimate goal was originally to own a comedy club. So I respect comedy clubs and comedy club owners, but great comedy doesn't have to be in a place that has, comedy club on the door. Great comedy can be anywhere. And those shows that you see at, in the back room of like a Lemongrass or like a show you see at a China Blossom are just as good. And the comedians are all the same local headliners that are doing like a Laugh Boston and Off Cabot are doing those shows. So the level of talent is just as good. And I love, those independent show producers, that's they're putting in the work and they're putting on lots of really, really good shows.
The problem that's happening now is there's lots of really shitty shows too, and there's like really bad where so Mike Katrobis' thing is mic'd up comedy. He'll do 150 shows this year. All of them will have a big headliner. Like basically most of the headliners that Mike uses have all within the past couple of years done the Dennis Leary's Comic Come Home at the Garden, type level. And a lot of them are, cruise ship people who working comics who are amazing. But there's now this thing where there's a lot of open micers who are now putting on shows on like Friday and Saturdays.
Oh yeah, we can talk. We can talk about this all day long. I have so much to say about this. So much to say about it. One thing I can say about the Boston scene in general is that I do think it is better than some other scenes in that because the people who have been I'm trying to find the best way to say this, because the Boston scene is an older scene and there are people who have been in it for a really long time and are very professional and know what they're doing, and they are very helpful to newer producers, and they're very good about if I wanted, when I first started booking shows, I went to the headliners that I knew and I asked for help. And I'm like, hey, here's my budget. Here's what I have. What can we do? And they helped me. They worked within my budget to find good headliners and good features. And as I booked more shows and my budgets got bigger, they were there to help. And I love that about the Boston comedy scene. And I think they had rules, which I think are still there, which is, you don't want to run an open mic on a Friday or a Saturday because those nights are professional shows. The audience is expecting professional shows. That being said, I think you do have some people who may not be getting booked as often as they would like to be booked. I think there are people that are trying to, jumpstart their career by producing shows, but they are not using all of the resources and all of the people that could help them. And what they're doing is they are basically doing what I would consider to be a pre-booked open mic.
Yeah.
With all the same people all the same people that they're friends with on the open mic, and they're calling it a show, and they're doing it on a Friday and Saturday night. And that can be upsetting to some people who are like, look, if you're going to do a show on a Friday or Saturday night and you're charging for those tickets, the expectation is that is going to be a professional level comedy show, not an open mic that you're calling a show. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. And that's the problem. They're now doing them Fridays, Saturdays. And the other one is the fundraising shows are so much fun.
Yeah,
and if they're done right, the charities make a lot of money. So my wife and I do special need dog rescue. I tell you that so you know how much better I am than you. No, but we did. And there's this amazing woman. She has this rescue called Eddie on Wheels, Eddie's Ranch. She has lots of followers. She has a 501c3. She has a company that has 3 people, full-time employees, that make wheelchairs for 2- and 3-legged dogs. We were fostering a 2-legged, pup for, from Qatar, and she got us this wheelchair that led to an adoption, which is great because those are like $800. And when you have special need dogs, there's a lot of people out of the running and there's more cost. So having that cost, so she gave us this wheelchair. She was already friends with my wife, and I said, hey, I'm going to do this fundraiser for you. She's also friends with Christine Hurley. Okay. So it was a double headliner show with Mike Katrobis, Christine Hurley, my friend Wayne Russell, who's an amazing 15, 20-minute feature. And I hosted. We did it at Giggles. We raised $11,400 in one night.
Wow, that's great.
Right. But then you'll turn around and I'll turn around so Mike does lots of fundraisers, and they usually make, that's a little bit of an outlier, but usually they make 5-ish, you know what I mean? If they're done right, but you have to have at least, there's a matrix to it, like how to be successful. So recently I ran, through a couple of people who reached out to me for help or something, and I saw that we were doing a show. I'm like, please do not do this show, because they were doing it for another dog thing. Very nice people, no headliner. And then they got kind of a mid-range headliner, but the rest of the people on the show are not somebody you would pay to see yet.
Right, yet. And that's the key word, yet. Yeah.
They ended up getting 14 people at their show. Now, so now that rescue thinks, oh, so these comedy things don't really work. They're never going to want to do one again. The venue is going to be like, well, we could have rented this for somebody else, but we gave them a deal because it's for a charity and it's this. And then the first, 4 people, 5 people up are not somebody that you should be paying to see yet. And they're charging the same much that the rescue that, we charged to see, Mike, Christine Hurley, Wayne Russell on. And it kills it.
You and I, kindred spirits. We're kindred spirits here. I can tell. When I first started producing shows, I was producing them kind of for somebody else. And I used to have this fight with him all the time, which is why I wound up going out on my own. But the fight was always because we were also running a mic. And so he would always want to book a lot of the people from the mic who, could get friends and family to come out to these professional level shows. And I was trying to do these 3-man style shows. And then he was always adding all these people to them because, they can bring people. And I'm like, okay, but here's the thing. You need whatever comedy show you're doing. If it's a professional level show, it needs to be good because when people leave that show, you want them to say, that was a really good show. I would come back to one of these shows. You don't want someone to say, that show was okay. I came because my friend was on it. And if you book my friend again, I'll come to the show. Like, that's not the goal here. The goal is to have good comedy shows, have good word of mouth, and have venues known for being a place to see good comedy. So then it gets to the point where they're not even looking really at who's on the lineup. They just know if I go to Giggles, like I know if I go to Giggles,
thank you,
I'm
Allison.
going to see
Thank
a good show. And that's the goal. And that's why places like a Giggles or a Laugh Boston or in LA, like the Comedy Store, the Improv, people are like, I can go see a show there any day of the week and I know it's going to be good. And that's how you build a following for your venue. So I would always have this argument, and it got to the point where he wanted me to collaborate with him on a country club show. And he did the lineup and he wanted me to, help host it and promote it and stuff like that. And I saw the lineup and I was like, this is the last person I think who headlined that comedy club. I can't remember who it was. I don't think it was Lenny Clark, but it was like of that caliber.
Right.
Like whoever the last headliner was. And then the lineup that he created was basically all the people that were going to the open mic. And I'm like, this is not a lineup for a country club that's paying, I don't know, probably a few $1,000s for this show. You have to have, like you were saying, you have to have a good headliner, you have to have a good feature. If you want to throw in, some kind of emerging comics and things like that for like 5-minute spots or whatever, that's great. But just no sense of what like a professional show should look like and how it should be run. And we just butt heads so much. I'm like, I have to go out on my own because anything with my name on it, and I think you probably feel this way too, anything with my name on it, I want to be a good show. And I'm not saying that that's not subjective to people, but I need to believe in it if my name's on it. You know what I mean?
100%. And look, I mean, stepping back for a second, when you talked about how supportive the headliners are.
Yeah.
It is, Mike Donovan just hit his 50th year in comedy. He writes books all the time. His last book, he talked about, there was a chapter in his book where he resents how comics and comedy scene is usually portrayed in movies and TV shows. And maybe it was like that. Maybe it was backstabbing. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen. But when I got into this a few years ago and I found my people, I found, friends who I do shows with, but the higher echelon were so approachable. We're so nurturing. So I've had this podcast for a long time and like years before I started doing stand-up. And then when I started too, I would have almost every name has come on and I've used it as a one-on-one coaching, like how does this work? How does this work? How does it? And but
Get
literally, right? But they all, and what ended up happening? So with Mike Katroba specifically, he's created kind of like a farm system, like think of it like a baseball thing, like single A, double A, triple A for both host and comedians. So he runs these hosting classes. So he's not going to fuck up one of his professional shows, but he also is going to give people chances. So if you're putting in the work, if he knows you're putting in the work, if you've taken a class with him, you've done some one-on-ones, and you know, he'll go on, he'll have the host come up, he'll give you that 5, knowing that the host are going to do a great job. You're going to come up with the audience ready to go. And if you're not maybe there, his regular opener, that 5 minutes isn't going to kill you. And so there's so much of that if you're willing to do the work. A lot of people don't want to put that work in.
Right, 100%. And Mike knows how to put on. I love Mike Katrobis. He did my room at not Asian Palace, at Harry's La Casamia, which I was saying was one of my favorite spaces for comedy. So hopefully they bring comedy back there. But he did that show with Pat Collins for me. They were my headliner and my feature. And he knows how to run a good show. And that's what I mean. When I say open mic, I don't mean that that's bad.
No.
I still go to open mics. I love
Yes.
open mics. But what I mean is, like, everybody's at different, everyone's is in a certain phase of their career. And it's not that the people who are doing open mics are not going to get to the level where they are, featuring and headlining and all of that stuff. It's like you said, you wouldn't pay to see them yet. Not
Yes.
ever, just yet. And so people, I think, sometimes get a little impatient. But honestly, I think what it comes down to is that sometimes people feel like, if I say something like that, it's like a gatekeepery thing. And it's not a gatekeepery thing at all. It's just a matter of, like, I mean, I did open mics for a really long time before I personally felt ready to, ask for like a 5-minute guest spot at a club. You know what I mean? And I feel like, and I'm not saying that everybody has the same rate of speed. Everybody kind of, is at their own pace. Some people get to that level faster than other people for whatever reason, whether it's life, whether it's just putting in the work or whatever. The amount of time is not the same for everybody. So I don't fault somebody if they're in this business for 6 months and they can go ahead and feature. If they're doing a good job, that's great. But I think for the average person, there's like an incubation period where, you're going to be doing mics, you're going to harness your talent, you're going to get that good 5 minutes, you're going to do the guest spots, you're going to do the hosting spots, you're going to build up your material to the point where you can do 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. And it's a process, and there's nothing wrong with that. I feel like a lot of people are in kind of a rush sometimes, or maybe there could be like competitiveness, like a sense of competitiveness to get to a certain level as fast as other people. But for the most part, like, honestly, I trust Boston's such a good scene with such good comedians, and I kind of trust them. And if somebody feels like a Mike Katrobis is like, hey, I think you're ready to do 5 minutes, but not 10, like, I trust him.
Right.
I like, he knows what he's doing, and I trust him. So, and I feel like people should use those resources
Because they are there. Like Mike, Mike a couple weeks ago put out a flyer and said, I'm going to do a Zoom. Log in if you have questions. Like, he's putting it out there. Look, do you want to know how this works? Why you shouldn't be doing these shows, and why you should be doing these shows, and how these. And it's funny because just like you said about good shows a few minutes ago, there's a guy. He has a room. He does 8 shows a year on the Connecticut border. It's a 60, 70 seater, and it always does well. And he invited me to do one, and it was fun, and it was fine. But there's 8 comics, and most of them are. It's like a glorified booked open mic with a decent feature in the headlining spot, and that's fine. And this guy prides himself that he pays all the comics. Great. And I told him I don't want to say what you're doing is wrong, but I would consider, and I said, do a 4-person show, host 3 comics, bring in a headliner. Because of the numbers, you can't have any more people in this room. So you're going to make the same amount of money by paying the headliner, $300 to $400. And I told him, I said, you've been doing this for a while. It's great that you're being supportive to the people that you're having do this, but none of those people are going to get you on a flyer for a real show. Like, you will get to do their version of this show next month and the month after, which is, if that's your goal, look, if your thing is I want to do this and have fun, nobody's getting a Netflix special. Nobody's getting huge. I mean, the number of people who sell out the Wilbur Theater 300 days a year who don't get Netflix specials. I mean, realistically, there's no late night talk show who has comics on it anymore. So that kind of bubble isn't there. So if this is your bowling on Tuesday night thing, that's fine. And if you want to stay there, but I told them, you have these people come, they have fun at your shows, but if you put together a great show, they're going to be, when is the next one? And I said to him, I said, and he kind of messed it up. I said, there's 3 or 4 headliners in this region who book 100+ shows a year. You are now going to audition for them by doing 10 minutes in front of them.
Yeah, he's got like 10 shows going on New Year's Eve.
And
I've done one of his New Year's Eve shows. It was great.
Which one did you do? Where were you?
Oh, I did the one with Gianni
Saltalamacchia. Gianni Saltalamacchia. Let's get it out of the way. Huge piece of shit. No, he's one of my best friends. Absolutely love it. Yeah.
It's what that country club that he works for. I call it a country club. I don't know I forget what the name of it is.
Hold on. It's changed. Because I did it this year. Margaritaville. It's now a Margaritaville. Whatever it used to be.
Turning into that before I did it. It was the original name. But yeah, I actually wore the same dress that I'm wearing right now when I did that show. Yeah, that was a really fun.
He's in that group with Mike. Where Mike has taken him under his wing.
Was in that group.
Jen. Like somebody out there. Nobody is perfect. There's somebody who hates Betty White. Except for Jen Howe. Everybody loves Jen Howe. She is the best. But again, Mike has my friend Wayne, my friend Anthony, and he has spread this out. But he does it by kind of bringing you along slowly. So now any one of us can run a room for him. Any one of us can do 22 or a half hour. But at the same time, he's taught us hosting is different than featuring. And here are the different muscles you have to, but that's, so the guy finally did. So last month he did, I hosted, he put himself in the open spot and did 10, brought in a legit feature, and Christine Hurley headlined. He was so shocked. The reaction, nobody left after the show. Like nobody left the restaurant after the show. They wanted to hang out. They wanted to talk. They wanted to talk to him. People who have been to other shows would just like, and you could see the light bulb go off over his head. It's like, oh, now, if we wanted to squeeze in a 5-7 minute set for one of these people who did well when he had the 7 or 8 people who are they're getting ready to transition into being openers and not open micers, great. Carve that time out.
100%. And you want to hear something funny? So when I booked Mike and Pat for Harry's La Casamia, I wanted to do an opener, and Gianni, I think, is from Taunton, and so that restaurant is in Rainham. And I booked him. I didn't even know he knew them. That was just like a happy accident. So when he saw the flyer, he was just like, "Oh, this is perfect for me." I didn't know that they all 3 knew each other and everything. So that show was great. That was a really good show.
Well, it's funny. Mike, Pat, Gianni, and I just did the Tobin Room down at Patriots Place about 3 or 4 months ago.
Comedy Scene.
We just did that show together. Yeah. So I mean, the thing is, there's enough Mike. There's enough shows. You can get on these shows. You don't have to put on. And if you want to do a show, don't do it on a Friday or Saturday. Don't do it as a fundraiser.
No, I used to do my shows on Wednesdays because I can get really good headliners on a Wednesday night because they're not, at the clubs.
And so there's a right way and a wrong way.
Yeah.
So now getting back to the festival, this is so really exciting. Tell me about the venues where the shows will be at your competition.
So we're just doing one venue, which is my home club here in Palm Springs, the Rock Gallery. And that is a small venue as well. It holds about 50 people. So, and that's what I wanted for this, because it's my first year doing the contest. And I wanted a small room, an intimate room, a room that's going to just like feel really full, full for the comics, really full for the judges. And it's such a great space here in Palm Springs to do comedy. And It's got like it has a really good vibe. It's called the Rock Gallery because the owner is a musician. He used to actually teach music classes in that space.
That's
So
awesome.
it kind of has like a rock star kind of like underground feel to it that I really
Like a
like.
real stage.
Oh yeah, it's a real stage,
Awesome.
good sound system. It has a little green room area. They don't serve food, and it's not a full bar. Like kind of like Tao Comedy Studio, it's like beer, wine,
Yeah.
like that kind of stuff. So minimalistic in that way. It just has a really good vibe, and it's downtown in Palm Springs. It's the home club of all the local comedians here,
I
and
love the smaller intimacy room, like Sweeney's Comedy Den.
there's
60
so
people
much.
packs that place,
It
and it's
feels full.
amazing.
The laughs are good. The acoustics are good in that room. I still love the video I got from the Comedy Clash. That's one of my favorite videos that I have because the laughs just sound so
Yes.
booming in
Yeah.
that video. And the Rock Gallery,
Awesome.
very similar. It's this very similar. Even if you only have 20 people in the Rock Gallery, it sounds like when you listen to that recording and you hear the laughter because of the low ceilings and everything like that. And I remember when I was first talking about opening up a comedy club, I was talking to a headlining comic, and he's like, "Make sure you have low ceilings." And I'm like, "What does that mean?" I thought he was talking about like expenses or something. Like, but he's like, "No, literally a low ceiling. You need
Oh,
a low ceiling for the sound." And he's so right. It's
yeah.
100% right. Like that low ceiling makes a huge difference.
No, so some of the shows I don't like to do and I've pulled back from them are the movie theater shows.
Oh, well, because the theater's designed different. Yeah, for the acoustic, it's different.
It's
Yeah.
just even if there's laughs, it doesn't, you know what I mean? And it's just because the ceilings are a mile away,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what, some of the like, the Elks Lodges, some of those places are great because they're, they have no, so that's really exciting. Um, I have eaten up so much of your time. I will of course tag, all the places and submissions. So tell me about the submission process before I let you go.
Sure. So in order to submit, you go to dyingforlaughscomedycompetition.com. There's a submission form to fill out and then a Venmo link to pay the submission fee. We're in our standard submission fee right now. The early bird was $20 that ended April 1st. Now it's 35. That will go on until July 1st. And the submissions go on until August 1st, but that last month the fee goes up to 45. So if anyone's thinking of submitting, you want to do it before July 1st while you still have that standard rate. And then me and a panel of the club owner and a panel of some bookers and comedians, we're going to go through the submissions. We're going to pick what we think are the top 20 of those submissions. And then we're going to start releasing the lineup, and then the judges take it over from there. So I've got about 120 submissions so
Wow,
far.
congratulations.
So it's a lot of work to narrow that down to 20 people, and I'm hoping for another 120. You know what I mean? I want to see all the talent. And the good news is that if you submit, even if you don't get into this competition, the goal would be for me to continue doing this competition either once a year or twice a year. So sort of once you're on the radar, and also I book shows here, and the Rock Gallery has shows, and the other people who are looking at these videos with me also book shows. So even submitting alone, you're getting in front of people and
Yeah.
you're getting your name out there to people. So uh, as many submissions as I can get, I want to take them all.
And when is the dates? When is the 2-day competition?
It is October 10th and 11th, which is Columbus Day weekend. It's that Saturday and Sunday.
I'm sorry, you said Indigenous Peoples Day weekend, I believe. I just
Indigenous
lost you for a
people
second.
Columbus Day weekend. It's October 10th and 11th.
Oh, oh, so that means it will only be 107 degrees in Palm Springs.
Right. Well, the club is air conditioned,
Okay.
okay? And there's plenty of pools, so wherever you're staying, I guarantee you there will be a pool.
Correct me if I'm wrong. There's a pool that you've been in that allegedly Frank Sinatra has farted in.
Did you guys know that Frank Sinatra once farted in this pool? That's how he came up with the song The Summer Wind. The Dying for Laughs Comedy Competition. Submissions open March 1st. Just go to dyingforlaughscomedycompetition.com.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
So So I have a PR partner who helps me put those videos together, and he's wonderful. And tourism, as you know, in Palm Springs is a big deal. So everything in Palm Springs, it's like Frank Sinatra stayed here, Marilyn Monroe ate here, Elvis had his honeymoon here. So we're really just kind of sort of taking those like old tourism videos you would see about going to any place, and it's basically satire. We're
So
just
much
having fun
fun.
with it. Yeah. But there's plenty of places Frank Sinatra, I'm sure, farted in Palm Springs.
Allison, you have been a delight. This was fantastic. Before I let you go, don't forget,